You're watching the GameSpot co-op stage, sponsored by LEGO Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
I'm so excited. This is
and
great.
we are back live on the GameSpot co-op stage here at E3, sponsored by LEGO Star Wars: The Force Awakens. I'm your host, Chris Waters, and I'm joined by Andrea Rene, iJustine, and Jeff Cannata, and we're about to talk about some Call of Duty Infinite Warfare.
Yay!
We all saw it at the press conference, and one of us saw it behind closed doors.
Ooh, well, that's
Mr. Cannata.
Tell us what you've seen.
Yeah, they showed an additional level behind closed doors. It's Zurich, and it's
Space Station Zurich,
no, real Zurich.
actual on-Earth Zurich.
It reminded me. I was like, this is kind of Terminator, the video game, because it was a lot of robots. There were a lot of like automatons that are coming out of doors everywhere, and everything was really misty and smoky and dark, and it was at night, and it was chaos. And it was very impressive.
Were they
Very
humanoid, like comparable to Black Ops 3, like those guys?
Yeah, it looked like exoskeleton, like thinner than a human could be, you know, like an exoskeleton. So that's why it reminded me of Terminator, you know? It was like, oh my gosh, this is like what an awesome Terminator video game would be.
Sounds like a little bit more of a traditional Call of Duty setting on Earth, and you know, like interior spaces mostly, or?
No, it was back and forth, interior spaces, outside spaces, stuff happening all around you, going in, going out. You know, your teammates are calling out stuff. Let's take a shortcut.
Sure.
Blasting a wall open, going into a building.
Okay.
I mean, very, you know, that turn to 11 Call of Duty single-player campaign style, yeah.
Did you have the grappling hook in that section?
No.
Okay, let's talk about that, because I think the space setting, the zero-G and grappling hook are going to be huge for this game and the single-player experience. You agree?
It's the year of grappling hooks, guys.
Yeah, I know, right?
At long last.
Yeah.
Did you get to see Jon Snow?
No, there was no Jon Snow on display.
My favorite thing about like all the Call of Duty campaigns is, even though I'm so into multiplayer, so usually most of the time I'm like, I'll play halfway through the campaign and then I'm like, all right, back to multiplayer. But I love how they always get the great cameos, like Kevin Spacey, and then they had, oh my God, what's the guy from SVU?
I don't watch.
I didn't know there was going to be a test.
Yeah, I'm not ready.
Christopher Maloney, thank you from the audience. Oh my God, I love
man.
SVU.
MVP in the audience.
Thank you. But no, so they have Kit Harington in this one. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, I love space. Who knows about Call of Duty in space? And I know there was a huge backlash with the trailer launch. I mean, it was like one of the most disliked videos ever, which was kind of, you know, it's kind
Where's
of
that
upsetting.
coming from? What are people so upset about?
I don't
these
think
days?
people
get it.
dislike the video because of the video. I think they were disliking it to show that they could do something on the internet and
Yeah.
waste their time. That's trolling at its
The trailer was
finest,
fine.
right? I mean, over 1 million dislikes. Clearly, people are doing it just for the
It just
fun of
becomes
it.
the thing. Like,
It was.
I want to get in on.
Yeah,
on
people
dumbfounding.
love to hate Call of Duty, and it's unfortunate because Activision does such an amazing job with this franchise. I mean, it continues to sell year over year over year, and it wouldn't if it was trash, right? Like if they were mucking it up, putting out broken games with really bad stories, or you know, broken multiplayer, it wouldn't keep being successful. So I think it's not fair, the rap that Call of Duty gets, because I enjoy my time with it every year when I play.
It's interesting because Activision has sort of done the same thing at E3 every year, and I had this moment when I was sitting there. There's always like a behind closed doors theater experience for Call of Duty, and I was sitting there in that room going, man, this brings back memories to when I saw because they show the remaster of
Modern Warfare.
That's super exciting.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, too, are really excited about that because that's what they started with in Call of Duty. So to bring that back, and if you do, like, pre-purchase it, then you get it a month earlier, which is kind of exciting.
It's awesome, but I had this moment when I was sitting there going, I remember seeing this in a almost the same space, and everybody was pissed because it was modern war. We don't want modern warfare. We want
That was the heyday of World War II. Yeah, absolutely.
So everybody hates it until they love it, and then they love it until they hate it. You know.
Look, I love multiplayer, so I'm super excited for the announce of anything MP. But as far as like the single player stuff goes, I mean, it's fun. You know, it's I think sometimes people take it a little bit too seriously. I'm like, it is a video game. You know, at the end of the day, it's Call of Duty. It's basically the same thing, just a little bit different. We're gonna play it. So that's it.
So let's talk about how it's a little bit different, because you know, the level Jeff was describing, seeing behind closed doors, sounded like, all right, sticking with your strengths, doing the Call of Duty thing. But what we saw during the press conference, especially on the exterior of the ship, introduced a few interesting things, I think. Zero-G combat, and also that grappling hook really introduces a level of sort of not just verticality, but also like there could be dudes shooting me from anywhere realistically because I'm in freaking space.
And spaceship battling.
That's pretty ballsy to be like, yo, Call of Duty is now in space.
I think
You know?
it's really cool. And another thing that occurred to me when I was watching it is, remember when there were load times, guys? I mean, the demo that they showed was that Zurich level, and then at the end of it, a spaceship lands, the guy gets into it, launches into space, and he goes through the atmosphere, gets into space, and now we're fighting in space. Then he lands on a thing and gets out, and I mean, it's just all one continuous experience. And I'm like, that's incredible. I remember when it was like next level. Let's load that now.
Yeah, let's do a little briefing. We'll show you the satellite images of where you're going next. Yeah, classic. Flying a spaceship. We do that in a lot of games. We talked about Eve Valkyrie in the previous segment. You know, X-Wing experience coming out. Lots of opportunities to fly spaceships. Are you excited to do it in Call of Duty?
I think Call of Duty excels at giving you so much variety in the single-player campaign. You're not just going to fly one kind of spaceship, I have to imagine. You're going to fly multiple different kinds of ships. We're going to be in some kind of crazy tank on the ground. I mean, they always
Crazy tanks.
throw something new at you with each level, and I love that about the campaign because it keeps it fresh, it keeps it exciting. You never know, like, what's the next experience I'm going to have in the next mission.
And maybe that tank will turn into the spaceship and it'll be like Star Fox of Duty. Oh, they're great.
Star Fox of Duty.
It'll just be interesting to see what they're going to do with that in multiplayer, you know, especially with esports, because a lot of the games, they have to be sort of altered to have like the specific like play settings, because we don't want to have one team to have more advantage than the other. So it's going to be cool to see how they do that. And it's going to be interesting to see how the esports community reacts, because
That sniper keeps shooting me. I'm going to space.
Let's get
Later,
my spaceship.
bitches.
I mean, yeah, Justine, you're big into the multiplayer scene. You've been on the Call of Duty multiplayer scene for years and years now. We're looking ahead to Call of Duty XP, where they're going to be doing the announce, or later this year, maybe Gamescom. What are you hoping for from multiplayer?
I mean, it's been interesting too. You know, we see the up and up coming of esports, so I think they're going to really need to do something to step it up, to take it to that next level, because I think, you know, it's been sort of a struggle kind of getting the community to rally around all these different renditions of Call of Duty. So we don't really know what to expect. You know, I just want the community to really have a good, solid game and just to keep following through, because it's also been interesting. You know, before it was all Xbox, so now it's PlayStation. So that was a huge transition this past year for everybody to sort of just be like, all right, we got to go on this new platform now.
Got to get a different controller going.
Yeah, I think they certainly have a lot to prove, particularly with multiplayer and esports. I spoke to Jay yesterday on the Call of Duty esports team, and then I asked him, I said, are you guys planning to continue supporting Black Ops 3 competitively after Infinite Warfare's launch? And he said no, that the competitive scene for World League is going to move to Infinite Warfare. So, I mean, that puts even more added pressure, not only on the, you know, people that like to play for fun at home, but also all of these teams that compete at such a high level of play. I mean, you can't really change the formula too much when you bring esports into consideration.
Well, yeah, it kind of makes it unique on that scene, because that yearly iteration, you know, as applies to esports, you don't have these teams sort of having years to sort of like really dig in. I mean, League of Legends, Counter-Strike, Go, these games that are dominant on the esports scene, that's a through line. You know, they're not switching it up. But by the same token, maybe is it kind of like a different kind of event, a different kind of challenge that, like, you got to be Call of Duty team, but you also have to be versatile, because, you know, next year something else is different is coming. Maybe that turnover actually, could it be keeping it fresh? I don't know. That doesn't.
Well, and it's interesting because a lot of these players, I mean, even if they're like Halo pros, like you said, like Counter-Strike, it is the same game. And, you know, even that slight difference, some people have a very specific play style, and this is how they play, this is what they're good at, and then they're like, guess what? You know what? Advanced Warfare, I can't.
They took out my move.
I can't handle
That was
this
my
anymore.
move.
Yeah. So you know, if you're a good, solid player, you're going to be fine. But I think a lot of people, you stick to what you're used to.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, certainly some esports challenges for this franchise to overcome. Another one is going to be EA this year is launching not one, but two shooters in the fall: Titanfall 2 and Battlefield 1. So you have these titans, these like titanic publishers.
It's a 1-2 punch, some might say.
Oh.
One might.
Titans can punch too.
You're amazing.
So these sort of three games have different focuses. Obviously, they have sort of key differences. But how do you sort of see that crowded landscape stacking up? How are Call of Duty's chances against these two big titles?
I think think it's certainly going to split the audience, split the vote, as it were. I think that we saw them take a little bit of a dip last year in their like gargantuan sales numbers. I think it's going to dip probably even more so this year, particularly with Titanfall 2 coming out. The original Titanfall was excellent. Short experience, but an excellent short experience. And now you have, Vincent Pella going up against his
his old running crew.
Old crew. And they brought a single player campaign, which fans were calling for.
Oh my God, were they calling for it? Jeez.
I mean, I was calling for it.
So was I. And I couldn't be more excited about a single player Titanfall.
I mean, I had so much
awesome.
fun playing Titanfall, but even though I don't really play the campaigns that much in Call of Duty, I feel like there was just something missing. It's like, where is it? Where is this extra added thing that we're looking for? But man, I'm excited for Titanfall 2 though.
And I want a
It's
mech
so
to
fun.
protect me.
Right?
It's going to protect me.
And then in that landscape of this futuristic shooters, Battlefield's going back to World War I. We think that that's going to sort of pull some nostalgic folks, and of course the Battlefield, sort of core Battlefield fans differ from Call of Duty fans. Those games are fundamentally different in a lot of ways, but yeah, it should be an interesting end of the year, you think?
I've always been sort of hands-off on Battlefield because I've been so invested in sort of like the Call of Duty community, and that's where I spend most of my time. And I was actually kind of intrigued to maybe go back and give Battlefield another chance.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Might entice you over there?
I think so.
I mean, bringing down a Zeppelin in a giant flaming wreck does look
that
pretty
trailer
cool.
was so good.
Yeah, I got to talk to a lot of fans that were playing at EA Play because this year at E3, which is really exciting, EA was like, hey, we're going to take our experience outside so the public can come and play these games. And it was like universal praise from everybody that I talked to. I also am not a Battlefield person. I just never practiced enough to get good. And let me tell you, Battlefield hardcore players will tell you when you suck.
Oh, they do, yeah.
Not like
Maps are
any
so
other gamers don't
They're
do that.
different.
But
Yeah, they're different from every other community.
Right. But it was interesting because I think a lot of people that I was talking to on Twitter were concerned, like, do the guns feel historically accurate? Does the setting feel like authentic? And it looks like it really does. And the sniper class is a perfect example. How they were saying like it's so different than Battlefield 4 because you're taking these World War I era weapons. There are no like high-res scopes, so it's all like mid-range and short-range stuff for snipers. So
See,
it's
that's
really
what I'm into. I love
change
the
up stuff.
close range combat. I like to run and gun, so this might be something that I'm into, because a lot of times I had a problem with some of the Battlefield maps. I'm like, they're so huge, this is taking so long, I'm not a good sniper, like I need to be up close and personal.
First time somebody snipes a horse out from under me, I'm going to be like, I can't play this anymore. Peaches!
Well, some interesting competition for Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, but also some excitement for the new scene for that game, taking it to space, and, of course, that grappling hook. We'll be right back live on the GameSpot co-op stage here at E3 in just a minute.